This podcast was recorded on the 17th of March 2021. We have made every effort to include information that both reflects the current situation and the services we would expect to provide in normal circumstances. However, bear in mind that the government's requirements and public health advice are changing frequently, and we may have to adapt our services and facilities accordingly. For the most up-to-date information, visit www.reading.ac.uk/ready-to-study/accommodation. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the My Home at Halls podcast series. I'm your host Izzy, and I work in the accommodation office. We've got an exciting podcast for you today as we tell you all about the fun events and activities that are available for students to take part in at the University of Reading. Our current students, along with special guests, will reveal all the interesting activities that are offered to Hall residents. So, let's get into it. We have special guest Claire with us today, who's the Residence Live Coordinator at UPP and is responsible for the Home at Halls programme. Thanks for joining our podcast today. Can you explain to us about the Home at Halls programme?
So the Home at Halls programme is a programme that was set up to support students living in halls here at the University of Reading. At its core, what the Home at Halls programme tries to do is bring people together. So it's all about creating those experiences and social opportunities for students to meet one another and to have those kind of one-off experiences that really form those relationships. It involves lots of different events and activities that we run throughout the year, which are a wide variety of different things, most of which are free to get involved in, and they all happen here in the halls. The types of events we run range from craft activities to regular fitness sessions. We do cooking, various different life skills. The biggest thing about the programme is it is student-led. So I have a team of student staff who help me run the programme, but we also provide our residents lots of opportunities to give feedback and to suggest ideas, and then all of that feeds into the programme and all of our planning to make sure that the events we run are what the students want.
That sounds great, thank you Claire. How have you adapted the programme with the current restrictions?
As many other people have done, we've gone virtual. However, Zoom fatigue is a real thing. So we've tried as much as we can to make our events interactive and experiential to really make sure that the experience students have is just as good as they would do at an in-person event, but online. So a large part of that is we have created event packs for lots of our events. So where an activity requires materials, rather than expecting students to either source them themselves or doing events where you don't need materials, we source them and we put together these event packs which have everything a student needs to do that activity. And we found that it works really well because it's not a case of students just sitting and watching their computer screen, but they're actually doing an activity that they can focus on, which really helps overcome the awkwardness that people can find with online events. One of the biggest things we've done is to try and create that sort of friendly environment, but online. So making it possible for those personal connections to happen with things like having lots of student reps involved to like chat and have conversations with, using the breakout room functionality, so splitting students into smaller groups, which make the conversations a bit easier. I think probably the biggest thing we've done this year is we've just adapted. So as the restrictions have changed, we've adapted to it and we've been flexible. So when in-person events were possible, we did run a couple, obviously following all the COVID guidelines, and we've just looked for ways where we can connect students and really just sort of spread that positivity and happiness.
How else have you been engaging students during lockdown?
Social media is a really big part of everyone's lives. It's just part of modern day life now. So what we've tried to do is build up our following on Instagram. And a large part of this has been the competitions that we run. And we found that they've worked really well in terms of, again, making students feel a part of a community online. We've run all sorts of different competitions. We've done reception decorations. So at Christmas, students were voting for their favourite receptions. We found that students really got behind their own reception, and it was kind of that inter-hall rivalry, which worked really well. We've also done things like Pancake Day. So we got students to send in pictures of their pancakes, and we gave some students some prizes.
Thanks, Claire. We'll be hearing more from you later on. We're also joined by Sophie today, who is a student rep. Sophie, please could you tell us about your role as a student rep and what this involves?
So I myself am a student. I'm studying business here at the University of Reading, and I'm a third-year student. And that really gives me that sort of personal connection with the students. So what I do is I am part of a student team at the Home at Halls team, and I help to decide on events that we're going to run throughout the term. And also kind of organize them and run them as well. So when it comes to organizing, what we kind of do is we source the materials that we need for each event. We write the descriptions that we then post on the app, as well as the artworks, and then kind of just advertise it on our Home at Halls app, but also on social media. And then when it comes to running the events, what I really do is I make myself available to students so that they can have a personal connection with someone, not just with me, but also with other students living in halls. So what I really try to do during these events is I try to get people involved and give them the opportunity to meet new students, just so that they can have that sort of social connection, which I think is really important, particularly during difficult times like these, where it might be a little bit more difficult to have that sort of social interaction.
Thanks, Sophie. It's been great to hear from you. So, Claire, earlier on you mentioned that you use social media. Do you have any other platforms that you use?
We also have a blog which launched last year, which is filled with lots of different content, most of it written by students. So it's very much the student perspective, all around sort of Hall's life. There's loads of different articles over there, and again, it's another way that students can get involved by writing articles to go up on the blog. So there's also the Home at Halls app, which is our app for living in halls. There's loads of different functionalities on the app, but it's the main way we advertise our events and different activities that we're running. It's a great way of knowing what's going on in halls, as there's lots of news articles. You also get notifications from your reception teams to notify you of various different things happening.
Thank you both. It's been great to hear all about Home at Halls. We're also joined by Alex, who works for Russo, Reading University Student Union. Alex, please could you tell us a bit more about Russo and the events that you run?
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to be here today. Hello everyone, my name is Alex Rose and I'm the Russo Activities Officer. So I ran for the position last year. So I've been at Russo been at the university, should I say, for 5 years now, because I did my degree here, my master's, and I'm now doing a year as the activities officer. So I decided to do 5 years at university because I really enjoyed Reading. I liked the people, I found the lecturers really engaging, and I really found my place with the societies in those that I joined. Over the years at Reading, I've actually joined about a dozen societies of a variety of descriptions, from hobby and interest groups to academic and career, and I've also been involved with some sports societies as well, which is brilliant to see. So there is a massive range of societies you can get involved with here at Russo. There's about 120 societies, give or take. Those are split between two main groups. You have the sports club and the societies. The societies are further divided by different groups that involves arts, campaigns and causes, culture and faith societies, and hobbies and interests. So there's a vast variety of different groups that you can get involved with. And then sport is, you've got the different sport groups and you've got the dance groups as well, which you can get involved with.
How have Russo adapted to the current restrictions?
In regard to societies, they've actually come up with a really broad range of different events this year that can be hosted online in order to support students during this time, because of course restrictions mean that people aren't able to meet in a room booking capacity like they usually would. So some of these events that they've hosted, which I've seen, which have been really good, is they've done virtual treasure hunts, whereby you sit on a call and you ask for the first person to find an item. They come along and show it on the screen, and thereby they win via that regard. There's been making of non-alcoholic cocktails and alcoholic cocktails on different evenings, and designing them. There's been baking shows that have been hosted by different people. In terms of what we kind of offer at Russo, it's really based on the societies and what they're offering at this time. So as I mentioned, there's loads of different societies you can get involved with, and the easy way to access their different events is to go onto the Russo page and then go onto their society pages in particular. Most societies usually provide a list of different events they host over the term. They usually provide different details on how to join with those events. And most societies that I'm aware of will allow you to join a couple of online virtual events, like 1 or 2 of these events. Therefore, basically get an experience of what the society's like, find out if you like it, what the people are like, and then usually they'll then request you to pay for membership, just so that can go towards the society's funding for anything like equipment.
Thanks again, Alex. It's been great to have you on our podcast and to hear all about the amazing events and activities that Russo run. We're also joined by 4 students currently living in halls who are going to be sharing their experience with events and activities. So thank you for being here today, everyone, and let's introduce you.
Hi, I'm Amy and I'm a 4th year film and television student, and I'm staying in Stenton Townhouses.
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm also a film and television student. I'm a 1st year and I'm in Wessex Hall.
Hi, I'm Amber. I'm currently a 1st year student living in Benyon, studying law.
Hi, I'm Salafa Kirfan. I'm a 4th year business student living in Sheffield.
Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining. So we're going to get started. Have you attended any of the Home at Halls events?
Yes, I've attended quite a few. I think my most memorable one would probably be the pumpkin carving event they did, where we had to pick up a pumpkin and sort of design it as our own, and then put it up on Instagram, and they voted best pumpkin, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've attended a couple as well. I attended, for instance, decorate your own tote bag. I did some of the Christmas events actually, because I ended up staying over during the Christmas break. So I ended up doing a lot of the Christmas stuff, and I was also due to do some of the Chinese New Year celebrations as well.
I've also taken part in a few of the online ones, and we do it as a flat. So we'll just set up the laptop so that we can see everyone else on Zoom, and then we'll all take part because we all sign up to them. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been to the online yoga that they usually do on a Sunday, which is really good.
Brilliant, thanks everyone. Have any of you attended any Russo events?
I've been here a long time, so I have probably been to hundreds of Russo events since I've been at uni. It's really good that the student union is literally only a 5-10 minute walk away from most halls. I go to usually every Wednesday union, which is like a big nightclub that they have that all the students can go to on campus. There's lots of different rooms in there as well, so you can have like the main music room, the R&B room, the cheese music room. They also have little like restaurants and stuff in there that you can go to, and they do special events like karaoke, quiz nights. Yeah, there's lots going on all the time in there.
I've also been here for quite some time, and I have attended a bunch of Russo events. I've actually attended a variety of them. I've attended the unions, as every Reading Uni student does. I've also attended a lot of, so in my 1st year, they had a lot of drag queens come along as part of their LGBT events program. So I've actually got to see like a lot of drag queens, and they're quite famous ones as well, like Sasha Velour and Willem. Also, I went to a couple of concerts that Russo hosted. For instance, they hosted a band called the Amazons as well, so I got to go to that one. They also host a lot of DJ events. I also got to go to that one. So Russo kind of has like quite a diverse selection of events they usually do, and I've also been to their summer ball, which was really, really good.
I did go to a couple of Russo events at the start of the year for freshers, where you could book a table. I think it was table from 4 to 12, I think it was, because it depended, you had to be with your household. So I went to a few of them, and I also went to a drag night, which was really fun. That was probably the best event of freshers. There weren't that many, but that was probably the best event. So even with COVID, they do put on events. It just has to be socially distanced.
I've attended quite a few as well, at the start of the year mainly just because of the second lockdown. So I attended a few freshers events, and probably my most memorable one was they actually organised a boozy brunch. So it was like a bottomless sort of brunch kind of thing, which was quite fun to do as a flat, and it was just a good way to sort of, even though you can't actually physically go sit at other people's tables because of the social distance rules, everything like that, you could still talk from your table to another table, which was quite nice because it was quite a nice way to meet other people, even if it was at a distance.
Thank you, everyone. So you've mentioned a lot about the events that Home at Halls and Russo offered before the pandemic. Please could you tell us a bit more about the events that both Russo and Home at Halls are offering currently?
So with the Home at Halls events, usually I go on the app and you reserve something. For example, I've done before the decorating the tote bag. So you reserve a little package, and then you go and pick it up from reception, and it has all the things in there to do it. And then you join a Zoom at 8 o'clock. So you still get to meet people on the Zoom and things, but it's just online instead of in person.
I never got to do any of the home whole stuff before COVID, but then I started doing them like when it all became online, and it's really easy to kind of like register to like get the supplies for the event. Everything is free of charge. It's pretty straightforward, and it's just really nice, and you get to see people, like people have their cameras on, you get to talk to them, and it's kind of like refreshing. I got to meet a couple of people from around my halls as well, so that was quite nice.
So the online events are still very interactive and a great way to meet new people.
Yeah, they Russo as well run a lot of ones for international students where you can go along and talk to other people who might also be feeling a little bit distanced due to COVID. I'd also really recommend joining any societies you can, because they'll be running a lot of online events where, you know, some of them are drinking, some of them are non-drinking, they do quiz nights together. And even if you're not in the society, you can always come along and just join for a week and just like meet some new people.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with the Home at Halls events, I've been doing them since I started university, and they're just really great. Similar to what's already been said, really, really easy to just go on the app. You just literally register. You get a date and a time to come pick up your event pack, and it's just so accessible. So, for example, I've done different events such as building your own Lego. Even something as simple as colouring in actually becomes quite entertaining, because we sort of pick up the packs as a flat, come back together, log on at 8 o'clock, and again, you can meet other people, even though it's not physically meeting them, just where everyone's got their camera on, they're sort of having a laugh. We've got all the resources we need that have been provided to us by the Home at Halls team. And it's just really, it just sort of breaks up the week, breaks up the days, and just makes everything that little bit better.
So this is more for Salafa and Amy. But in normal circumstances, what other type of events do Russo and Home at Halls offer? Is there day trips available?
Yeah, so they run outside of the drinking ones and kind of like the food ones in Russo, which I think we've covered. They have day trips to Oxford, or I know they used to have ones where you could go to Stonehenge or London for the day, and they're usually pretty cheap, because if you were to go on your own, it would be like, you know, definitely over 50 quid, but you can go on these trips for like 20 quid sometimes, and it's really good, you know, especially if you're not from the UK, to get out and like see the sites that we have here and stuff. Russo run a boat party every year if you're living in halls, and it's really cheap. Again, you get a bus into London altogether, the people in your halls, and you take this big boat across the Thames, and yeah, it's really beautiful and really nice that someone else gets to set that up for us.
I haven't personally attended any of the boat parties, but I do know that my friends always talk about how fun it is. And I didn't really end up going because, it would clash with some of my other commitments. But I didn't really do much of that, like the home at halls, like activities before like COVID, because I was more of doing more of the Russo stuff. But now I'm kind of regretting it. I'm kind of like, oh, I wish I would have done it when, maybe I could have showed up. Oh wait, I think I actually did show up to one of the events. They had a cheese night. They had a cheese and wine night actually. Wait, sorry, I just remembered. I remember it was one of my icebreakers with my flatmates last year that I was like, oh guys, let's go cheese and wine night. Like let's have a talk. Like I don't drink, but I just had cheese. And it was
That sounds good. Okay, thank you.
I just thought of something really important. They bring animals onto campus in exam season usually. So outside of COVID, I know they've done it virtually this year, I think, but usually they bring like support dogs or like farm animals to campus. You can go and like feed them and pet them. And that's really good to take a break from writing your essays or like doing exams, and you can just talk to someone else for a minute and just forget about like all the stress that's going on. And I think that's really good that they're thinking about like the students' stress levels and everything and trying to reduce them. Yeah, it's just good to also like meet people at these events who have something in common with you. If you don't get on with your flatmates, there's always other ways to meet people. You're not stuck.
What type of events do you enjoy the most?
Well, I kind of like most of the events. Like I've never been disappointed by it. I also prefer events that happen at university anyway, because they are like let's say before COVID, everything was much safer when you're on uni campus and doing all these activities rather than being in town, for instance. I enjoyed most of the activities. I particularly enjoyed the LGBT activities. I enjoyed a lot of like when they got like external people, they came around and they did some like either workshops or they would do like DJs or anything like that. That was usually kind of what I would go for. And also one of my top events I've been to, as weird as it sounds, I went to a High School Musical themed night at Russo a few years ago, and it was not a lot of people showed up, but I think that's what made it really much more fun, because it was just like a small amount of people that just really enjoyed High School Musical, I guess.
I love the social events personally. I think that Russo and Home at Halls have both done a really good job at putting together events so that you can meet other people, because it can be really overwhelming when you're going to uni, or if you're, well, in any times really. It's really great to be able to meet new people, and you can go to these events and everyone else in the same boat as you, just trying to get that social interaction during COVID, online or in person. And I think there's something for everyone as well, whether you drink or you don't drink, or you're into like the cultural, like visiting places in the UK, or the food nights. There's so much to choose from.
Obviously, like listening to this, I'm gutted about COVID because it sounds so good when COVID isn't around. But I'd still say that I enjoyed the socially distanced events, because by that time we were used to having to stay in your table and be in groups of 6, or like small groups at least. So the fact that they put on those events even in hard times was really good, and it made me feel like, oh, this is a good uni and I can't wait for when COVID's gone.
Yes, so similar to what's already been said, I enjoy social events. So I'd love to, for example, have opportunities for the days out and things like that when COVID's a bit better. But I even enjoy the activities that you can literally take back to your halls. So simple things like building Lego, colouring and that kind of thing. So it's quite simple things to do, but it just ends up being such a laugh with your housemates and other people online. And it's just such a good way to sort of make the best out of a bad situation. It really, again, it just breaks up the day, and it's nice to know that those sort of opportunities are out there. So there's never going to sort of be a dull day, and it just makes the university experience a lot more memorable.
Okay, thank you. So you mentioned briefly about this earlier, but how do you register for these events, for the Russo events and the Home at Hall events?
So I usually get a notification when there's a new event happening, and then I click on that and it takes you to a link and you register through that link, and then you add it to your online calendar as well. And then
Is this on the Home at Halls app?
It is on the Home at Halls app, sorry, yeah, which everyone gets when they start uni anyway. So I definitely would turn your notifications on if you're up for any of these events. And then you go and pick up your package on the day, and it has all your supplies in there. And then you just join a Zoom at 8 o'clock usually, and everyone's on there, and you have a nice time basically.
For the events for Home at Halls, you obviously go through the app, and for the Russo events, I usually find them through things like Facebook, Instagram, because I'm on the Facebook pages for Reading Union, Reading University, so I usually go through there, click on the link for the event and register, and through that process. Or sometimes it's literally as simple as one of my flatmates or course mates puts in a big group chat and we all sort of register through there. So there's multiple ways you sort of hear about these things and register for them.
I'm going to talk about like the Russo, like how we registered for events for Russo. So I'm not sure if Amy may be able to fill me in on this one, but there used to be an application for like Saturday unions and Wednesday unions where we used to just like buy tickets on there, and it used to be yeah, Amy, what was it?
Yeah, you go on Eventbrite and they usually sell it. You literally just type in Russo and you can see like tickets for the Wednesday union, Saturday union, and anything else they're running on there. So that's usually where Russo will sell their tickets.
How has attending events helped you socialise and meet new people? I know obviously this year it has been different, but I mean, has it helped you, the online events, has it helped you to kind of bond with your flatmates and to even just meet new people kind of online?
Yeah, for me, definitely as a first year, it's really helped me. It's helped me bond with my current flatmates who I'm living with, but even meet other people online that you sort of see in passing. So, for example, a lot of people that do the Home at Hall events, I found actually lived around my area in Benyon. So it'd literally be as simple as we'd all log on and we'd sort of chat to these other people, and it ends up that they're living upstairs from us. And we're just passing through the corridors, and it's just been so nice to sort of see familiar faces, especially when you're a first year. Just going onto campus is quite daunting, seeing so many people. It's like starting secondary school all over again, but then you see all these familiar faces and they recognize you from something you might have said on one of the virtual events or something you might have made, and it's just a nice way to sort of get familiar with people. And then it's great to know that once this is over, we'll actually be able to go out and socialise with those people properly.
For me personally, when we do the Home at Halls events as a flat, it's a way we make a night out of it. For example, there was an event not too long ago that was a cocktail night. So they supplied us with the things, and then we made a night out of it. Then we tuned into the Zoom, and it was a proper professional teaching us how to make cocktails. So I feel like it's definitely brought my flat closer together.
I did end up actually making a lot of friends through Home at Halls, like separately, where like I actually can like walk around and then I'll see them and then I'll just like wave at them at the reception. Like when I'm leaving reception, they're like, oh hey, how are you? So it's actually like it's kind of like a you thing as well. Like, it's really fun when your flatmates can join, but even if they can't, it's still very much a social experience.
So Amy, you're the new activities officer for next academic year. So congratulations. Please could you tell us a bit more about your role and any ideas that you have for future events?
Yeah, so I was elected by the students to be the activities officer, so I'll be starting in June. And what this means is I'm going to help run events. I look after the societies, all the charity and the media at Russo, which is the students' union. So my big priority, obviously, as a very social person, is to make sure that we have as much socialising going on and the ability for new freshers coming in to make friends within COVID restrictions. So if things get lifted, there's going to be loads of places we can go visit. There's going to be lots of non-drinking activities as well as drinking, because I know that some people can feel left out. But yeah, I've got so many things in mind. Even if COVID is still a thing, I've got lots of ideas for, socially distanced events and stuff that we can still do. Yeah.
Sounds exciting. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of today's podcast. So thank you all for joining. Thank you to Claire, Sophie, Alex, and all of our incredible students who have shared their experiences. We hope that you found this interesting and you've got a bit more of an insight into the events and activities that are available for students to get involved in. Thank you all again, and we hope to see you in the next podcast. Bye for now. If you haven't already, make sure you watch our Room Type podcast, where students tell us all about the available room types at the University of Reading, as well as their top tips on choosing accommodation. You will find the podcast in our Home at Halls podcast series playlist on our channel.